Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 388 for the 18th of March. And I have done three different quick updates and analysis of sorts across the main channel and the DPA War channel. Do check them out because it will be more detailed, in terms of the specific frontline than this SITREP. So let's start off with the first information over at the southern front. There is a forces strength of 10 to 15,000 estimated across the entire southern front, according to pro-Russian source Ryber. So the front line mentioned here is actually from Nikopol all the way to Ochakiv. So this entire line here is 10 to 15k of Ukrainian forces. Doesn't sound like a lot, right? But there is not much active fighting here. So but that gives some kind of scale into what is happening around here. And the most important news, I feel, is actually in the Zaporizhzhia region. So the Ukrainian forces have launched attack, probably the Zaporizhzhia offensive or their spring offensive, from the position of Novodanilivka. And there is reports of concentration of forces over at Novodanilivka as fighting continue to be reported from Novodanilivka towards Robotyne. And this information, in the latest information coming from today on the 19th of March, suggests that the Ukrainian forces is still continue to attack, which is why I'm upgrading this, more than just a skirmish, but it is some kind of sustained offensive. The latest report suggests that the Ukrainians are attacking in the pincer movement in this direction against that's Robotyne, and they do obscure, they cover their movement with smoke, yeah, with smoke, yeah, smoke, yeah. Don't take so much cigarette, it's bad for health. And there's shelling reported at Orekiv, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Not sure if it's related to the defense of this region here. The fighting being reported here on the yesterday's one was actually reported on the Russian Defense Ministry's Telegram channel, according to the statements from the Vostok group of forces, where they reported that the Ukrainian forces are trying to attack from the area of Novodanilivka by the 65th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, supported by armored vehicles. So RV Vionko, a pro-Russian channel, actually reported that the Ukrainian forces were detected, and then there is a fierce battle ongoing. So this is actually one of the major flashpoint currently. And over at Belokhoye, there is also seems to be fighting reported around this area, because pro-Russian source Ryber reported that there is attempt to storm the position of the Russian forces from the Belokhoye Charivny region, which is this too. And in this there's a column being formed in this region, which the Russian forces seems to detect, and they actually artillery strike it. So we will continue to monitor the situation here, and let's see how this goes, whether this will be like the Russian Zaporizhzhia offensive that just whimpers within a week, or will this be a much more sustained offensive from the Ukrainian side. Shelling is also being reported at Levatne. This is a continuation of the artillery striking the day before, being reported the day before. And that's all from the Zaporizhzhia line. The next big information comes at Bakhmut. At the Bakhmut city itself, there is news of Russian managed to progress and are currently fighting along the Mariupolska street as the Russian forces push towards the street. And over in the southwest side, they are also pushing towards the center, and they possibly even do a pincer on the Ukrainian forces currently in this area here. And information is coming from Deep State UA about the fighting at Mariupolska street. This is actually also based on their mapping. And Surya Maps reported the fighting has reached near the Avdiivka Stadium region, which is actually this stadium here. And the fighting fighting here, according to the SITREP maps mapping, went from something like this and to something like this. So there is a major move and of the front line from the Russian side, and this is not looking very good for the Ukrainian side. In the northern part of Bakhmut city itself, fighting is still being reported in the northern part of Bakhmut. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they did not mention in details, and it's surprising that they don't talk about the southern part, where actually there's the real progress happening. At Kromove, according to Maroshenikov, a pro-Ukrainian source, they say that fighting here is very fierce, and then the pressure is insane, which means the Wagner forces in this region are really pushing very hard to try to capture Kromove currently, which means that any information of the withdrawal from Kromove previously was fake, or at least misunderstood. And over in the Ivanivske region, we do not have any information of fighting around this area here. And however, in the northwest part of Bakhmut city, we have fighting reported at Bodanivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Krychorivka, and Orikhovo-Vasilivka. All information coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And that's all from the Bakhmut Front. The next big news comes from Avdiivka Front. At Avdiivka Front, over at the Krasnohorivka, I have reported that Sanya, Florida has disputed the capture of Krasnohorivka. According to his sources, the Russian forces only controlled 20%. And this is then echoed by RV Koenkor, where the information say that positional battle is continuing in and around the area of Krasnohorivka. So, however, Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, updated their mapping, and they in their mapping shows that the Ukrainian forces have lost all the positions within the city itself. Previously, the Deep State UA's mapping is like this. Now the mapping is now like this. So the Ukrainian forces have been entirely pushed out of the village of Krasnohorivka, which actually corroborates the information coming from Ryba and SITREP maps. Because for me, the SITREP maps, Ryba and Deep State UA are my primary sources, so I will actually lean towards what they say. RV Koenkor is not even in my secondary source. I just added into my secondary source, but given the number of posting they do, it's a bit hard to follow them on a daily basis. So yeah, but this information do suggest that most likely Krasnohorivka has been lost to the Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainian forces currently is likely to be holding up along this forest line. This is currently where the Ukrainian forces are positioning in, and this forest line here, these squarish ones, and this here has all been taken by the Russian forces. So south of Krasnohorivka, there is also progress with information coming from SITREP maps, and Maroshenikov suggests that the Russian forces have progressed in this area here, and they managed to push and close down the front line between these two lakes, which you can see is here and here. This is the lake, and the southern part also the same. The Russian forces also continue to push, breaking the Ukrainian forces into two, and the front line currently looks like this. So fighting is also reported at Kayamka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. On the western part of the Avdiivka, we have fighting reported at Avdiivka, which I presume is coming from Opitne. And there is also fighting reported at Zhevene, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and Vodian. Interestingly, it seems like the report is done by two different persons. One like to use Zhevene, the other guy like to use Vodian, although I believe that it's basically the same thing. Because Zhevene is here, Vodian is here. So the front line is actually here with the Russian pushing. So more or less probably the same thing. And there is also fighting reported at Pervomainske and Nevelske. At the Nevelske, Maroshenikov added some information saying that the Russian forces is trying very hard to fight at Nevelske, Kayamka, and Zhevene. And they say there is some kind of a mid wave. Sounds quite disgusting. And they say that because the Ukrainian forces are a powerful force, so the Russian forces have not succeeded. And over at the Donetsk or the Marinka Voleda region. There's a fighting reported at Marinka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Over at Novomikhailivka, according to the statement coming out from the Vostok group of forces, they say that the Ukrainian forces actually launched a counterattack in the area of Novomikhailivka, which means that the Ukrainian forces actually tried to push. And however, this attack is foiled by artillery of the Vostok group of forces, which is actually the Russian forces which actually stopped the attack. Over at Voleda region, the Russian forces continue to be shelling Voleda, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, with no indication of ground offensive over at this area here. And that's all from the Voleda Marinka region. And over in the Siversk front, at the Siversk front, there is also some progress or some updates. The Russian forces previously along this line have managed to move in the northern part of Bakhmut, and this information comes from ZAPO maps that the Russian forces have progressed in the north of Bakhmut. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry simply reported fighting at Bakhmut as well as at Sperne. According to ZAPO maps, there seems to be also some kind of progress north of Sperne. So something, but however, we already map it in that way, so it doesn't look like any news on our side on our map. Shelling is being reported at Krychorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry in yesterday's report, and we are now into the Kreminna front. And at the Kreminna front, the usual continues with no clear information of any changes in the front line, with fighting reported near Kreminna, which is basically the Zaporizhzhia forestry, and at Dibrova, as well as at Torske, according to the pro-Ukrainian source Myroshnikov. Shelling is being reported by the Russian Defense Ministry at Dibrova and Yampolivka. And further up north, we have shelling reported at Nevelsky. So in the past day, the Russian forces is pushing mainly within the forestry region and in the eastern part of Torske. Otherwise, it's just shelling being done across the front line. And that's all from the Kreminna front. And moving into the Svetove front, we have reports of fighting at Novoselivsky, according to Myroshnikov, the pro-Ukrainian source. And we have shelling reported at Stemakivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And over at the Kupyansk front, we have a counter-offensive or counter-attack in the area of Kreminna. Information is coming from the press officer of the ZAPO group of forces on the Russian military side. And it's actually in the video format. I transcribed the information, and they say that the 6th Combined Arms Army near Mesutivka and Kreminna was attacked by the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade, and then the motorized rifle units supported by artillery managed to force the Ukrainian forces back to their previous position. So in details, it actually Kreminna is actually here, with the Russians actually controlling it. And your Russian forces have not captured Mesutivka, as far as we understand, and the Ukrainian forces actually launched a counterattack in this region here. However, artillery shelling actually caused them to abandon their offensive. And there's shelling being reported at Voronezh, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and Sinkivka. And otherwise, the situation here largely have not really changed. But it's very interesting because all these updates, video updates coming from the different groups of forces on the Russian military side is actually pretty informative, because they actually give more information than what the Russian Defense Ministry and the HQ actually give. So it actually gives us this information of Ukrainian offensive that would not have been reported if it's just based on what the Russian Defense Ministry will report. So this is actually very helpful, and I hope that the Russian Defense Ministry will continue to publish all these individual updates of the Russian forces reporting from the front. Yeah, it's literally reporting from the front. They have the press officer standing beside their artillery or armored vehicles to report all this information. Do hope that they don't become complacent, actually allow the Ukrainian forces to actually geolocate where they are, and then that's kind of like a self-point. So anyway, this is the quick update. This is the SITREP and summary for the day of 388 for the 18th of March for the Ukraine war, or the special military operation in Ukraine. Do check out the other videos that I've published that goes into more details in terms of the information at the Bakhmut Front, Avdiivka Front, and the Zaporizhzhia line. And if you are new to this channel, do subscribe. If you have not subscribed, join the TPA army. You will love it here. You will enjoy the community here, which are really brilliant. They are all very smart. And do press the like button to help the algorithm to push this video to more people, and share this indiscriminately, you know, like how you will fire artillery at the enemy position. Just share it everywhere, and I'll see you in the next update.